All right. Um, Good evening, afternoon, good evening, everyone. Okay, you're all welcome to the day 5 of the UX/UI Design Bootcamp from the Friends of Figma Port Harcourt. Please, if you can hear me, just say yes on the chat. If you can hear me, say yes on the chat so we can continue. All right, that's fine. A yes from two persons, meaning everybody can hear me. Okay, so today is the day 5 of the UX bootcamp so far, and we have come from a long journey from Monday. Today is Friday, and I believe we have all had great experience from the Friends of Figma UX bootcamp, and this is the first of its kind for Friends of Figma Port Harcourt, so it's a special one for us. It's a special edition, and we're also already planning for something else for the next event. Hopefully that will be greater than this. We're also planning for a visual event because we always do the on we always hold in-person events, but this time around we are seeing that the to reach out to many, to reach out to others, we need to stick somehow to online event as well. And also we're also planning for the Figma watch party, config watch party. That config is starting on June. I don't know if anybody is familiar with config. If you have been in the design industry, you should know config. Config is the design conference from Figma, and which will be coming up on June this year. And we are planning for a wash party as well. So we are thinking of how we can carry our online followers as well. So not to waste much of our time, we'll just go straight to today topic. So today we ought to have Peace Ojeme in our midst, but her flight was delayed. She ought to be in the UK, and her flight was delayed. She told me the very first day I opted in for her to speak. She told me that she will be on transit that day, but her flight is, I think, 3 hours before. But now her flight is delayed, so as we speak, she's on transit already. So she will not be here today. But then don't be frightened. I'm going to be taking us on the testing and iteration for today. We're all designers. Sometimes we just allow others to come speak. I always give room for others. This is the first time I'm speaking for Friends of Figma. It's not because I'm not a designer though, but since I'm the host, I prefer giving others the platform to speak, so it will not be so selfish for myself. So I'm for to introduce myself. My name is Ebibote Doutimi, and I'm also a product manager and a product designer. But right now, my role in my current company is a product manager. But I've done product design as well. So I have experience as a product designer, and so today um, we'll be taking on the topic we have for today, which is testing and iteration. So yeah, we have come a long way. Yesterday, I saw what Davio White did. He had a lot of prototyping. That guy is good when it comes to prototyping. When I opt in for the speakers to come speak, he just immediately opted in for the prototyping, and I couldn't resist because I've seen his work. He's so good in prototyping. You can also go, if you check on YouTube, you will see his videos there of prototyping. So today we'll be talking about the iteration and testing. So, have anybody done any testing before? You've done user testing before? Have you done user testing before? Or have you gone through the process of user testing before? Don't worry, I'm not bringing you up to come and explain. So don't be scared. I'm not bringing you up to come and explain your experience. So don't be scared. If you have done UI text and testing before, you can just say it that yeah, you have done UI testing. Okay, so I have a slide here for us. I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Um, okay. Okay, so everybody say no, 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 no. So nobody have done user testing. Okay, that's fine. That's what we'll be going to. That's what we are doing today. So we'll be testing. Give me. Let me share my screen. So don't worry, my slide will be shared to the community. I'll be sharing my slide to the community, so you don't have to worry about it. All right. Can you see my slide, please? Can you see my slide? Please, can you see my slide so that we can continue? Right, okay. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so today we're talking about testing and iteration. So like you guys said, you said you have not done anything on user testing before. So today we'll be taking on that journey of user testing. So user testing is one of the most important parts of product design. As a designer, you must always test your designs. Now, the problem that we have most times with designs is that sometimes we don't like feedback. Why don't we like feedback is because most times we get it attached to our designs and we hate to be criticized. We don't like to for somebody to tell us our errors, so we get so attached to the designs and we mostly avoid feedback. We only want to put out we only want to put out things that are very exceptional. Before you put out your design, you want to make sure it's very exceptional in and out before you put it out there or before you ask for feedback from any other person. But trust me, one of the key things to do as a designer is always to get feedback from your users, because one, you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for your users. So your assumptions, your hypotheses, they might not be correct, right, on your design part. Yeah, you have gotten feedback from all your users during your research sections, just like we did. We have gone through the process of the first day, the second day, the third day, and the fourth day. They have talked about, the other speakers talked about user research and all of that. Now you've got to know your user research and you've gone through the the ideation process, and you've started designing. When you start designing, also you have to still put the users in the know, especially when you are designing for users. You're not designing anything that you're not designing for yourself. You are designing a product that you are designing for your users, so you have to put them in. Now, why do we put our users? Why do we put them first? We are designing we call it a human-centered design, right? Everything we do right now on the on design is human-centered. If you check the Google, if you check the Apple, I tell my students that, why do you think that Google and Apple, they always use the black and the white? That's the key color you see on their designs, black and white. Because the black colors, now the black, they are most times, I was talking to some of my students. I told them that sometimes I don't know, there was a trend. There was a trend that was going on some time ago, especially for the design community, where there was a picture with color pink and brown, purple. That when you look at the color, when some persons look at the color, it's somehow red, but other person might look at same color, it's showing different pink or purple, and you If you leave that color and go back to that picture again, you find out that you are still seeing different colors. So these are the things that we are talking about when we talk about design. So I think Google, they're the ones that Google have material design, then Apple also have material design, right? But when you see that they teach us a whole lot of color, texture, and all layouting and all, but when you check their own website, you check most of their products, it's just black and white. Now, the black and the white, when it comes to eye effect, it's the same for almost everybody. No matter the color impediment you have, you will always see the black and white colors, right? So these are the important things, especially when you are designing and you are adding colors to your design. That's why we need, especially when you're dealing with users of different kinds. They have talked about accessibility and all of that. So black and white has no enemy, which if that's the right word. So now, why the importance of testing? Importance of testing. Identify issues and pain points. To identify issues and pain points, user testing helps designers identify any issues or points in their design that might not have been apparent during the design process. By observing how users iterate or interact with their designs, designers can gain valuable insights, what works and what does not, and make necessary adjustments. So now you are testing, you are designing for people and they have pain points, right? So most times you have gotten your user, you have your data, you have these data that you have collected during your research process, during interview, during surveys, during different level of your research process. But then when you're putting those things into design, now you're moving from you have moved from collecting data and transforming this thing into design. So you will not be too sure of you putting those pain points in your design process accurately. So that's why after you've taken those data and you have turned those data into design, you also need to go back again for feedback. You also need to go back again for testing. So that's one of the importance of testing. The second importance of testing is validate assumptions. Now, as users, we all have assumptions. We have assumptions of everything. Like now, it's easy for you to assume that your colors are nice. Now, I've put out how many colors here? I've put out about 4 colors here, and it's easy for me to know to be sure that these colors are the perfect ones for this design. But trust me, if I put out this body to test or a users to test, I might have a feedback, and that feedback might help me to actually do a better design, right? So this slide you are seeing, she sent me a message this morning, late morning, and I thought about I call any other person to come and take this section. So I had to just put up top slides that we can use for this evening. So this was impromptu slides, but then I still try as much as I can to make it user friendly, right? I still try as much as I can to make it color. So those are the things. So now when we talk about validating our assumptions, testing us to validate assumptions. Testing allows you, right? I would have used that word. Testing allows you to validate your assumptions, right? But then I don't know, some persons sometimes online platform, and sometimes we might have people that are just coming in for the first time. So we use that word designer. So as the person is coming in, you also feel that, you see, I'm trying as much as I can not to assume that we are all designers, right? So I put it in a general term, allows designers to validate. So anybody that is coming into, it feels that presence, like, okay, I'm talking about designer, but if I said allows you to validate your assumption, it doesn't make, I don't know if you're getting it. I'm trying to make sure that we don't assume. Like, as long as you're a tester, you must not assume. Or rather, as long as you're a designer, you must not assume. if I put the button here, is it going to work? You must, we are coming to that where you start doing A and B testing, right? So testing allows designers to validate their assumptions about their users and their needs. By observing how users interact with their designs, designers can determine whether their assumptions were correct and make changes to their design accordingly. Because the first thing that you want to know that when you open your Figma file, when you open Figma, you open a file. When you start placing layout and text and all of that, know that those things you are doing, they're actually assumptions. Yes, there is a design pattern. There's a material design that shows us that for mobile phones, the what's it called? The buttons should look like this. And but when you start putting them, there is no particular place they told us that buttons should be, right? So wherever you are putting your buttons, you must know that the places you are putting these buttons are actually your own assumption. But if you do A and B testing, for example, and you place those, you put a button in a particular position and put another button in a particular position, give it to different users and check the ones that will be free to use those designs. We are getting to that. I'm just trying to make us understand that most things we do in design is actually assumption. So we should know that our designs are not perfect. And I'm not sure that design will be perfect because you must always get feedback. So your designs are not, let me just use that word, perfect on users test it, right? So the third one is usability. So design testing improves usability. Testing enables designers to improve the usability of their designs by identifying areas that are confusing, difficult to use, or frustrating for users by making changes to their designs based on user feedback. Designers can create more user-friendly and effective design. So if you're open to improvement, you're open to change. There are some persons that they will send you their design for you to criticize or for you to, they're expecting a feedback. Yeah. But then when you give them the realistic feedback, they feel bad. You understand? Bad. So, but for your design to, you must put it out there for people to test, right? So the third thing here, so one of the important it increases users. So the more users test your design before you put it out there before launch, it's actually increased user satisfaction. Most of the apps we are using, think that if they just go through the design, the 5 stages of design process and launch it without user testing it. I mean, sorry, the 4 stages of design process without the last for them to test, right? You think that you can be using it and will be enjoying it. No, it will not. So they went through all the processes. That's why we are all satisfied using most of the apps we are using. Apps like Facebook, TikTok. Today, TikTok has the most used audience because it is satisfying to users, right? So that's it. So guidelines for conducting a testing. Guidelines for conducting testing. So like I notice I'm trying to check the chat as well because that's important. So if you have any question in between, you can drop it as well. I will be checking it in 10 minutes, so I will not miss out on any. So guidelines for conducting testing. In-person testing. Now, when you're conducting testing, let me just explain. Let me go through it before then I will explain. In-person testing, it said this involves observing users as they interact with a design in a controlled environment. This method allows designers to observe users' behavior, reactions, and frustration in real time and gain insight of their designs. Now, there is sorry, let me bring this. I did testing as a programmer. I was a software, or I'm still a software engineer before a designer. So as a programmer, I was doing software engineer. I do testing in a place of work while I was doing my internship back then in school. So there's a way we test our software that we're not talking about the design now, because even in software development, we have what we call software development life cycle, right? It's just like the same design process. So the software development life cycle goes through the same cycle. There is a cycle of, and at the end of the day of the software development life cycle, we come back again, just like we do iteration, just like the way we test and also start again and doing maintenance and all. In-person testing now, let me just give that insight. So when we want to test applications, we'll just bring in students. My internship in my school, yeah, so we'll bring in students to the IT lab, then we'll put them in different systems, walking around them. We'll be looking at their expression while they are testing. Okay, let me just give you one vivid example. I actually built our school portal in school, right? Our school portal in school. I enhanced it rather. I enhanced it because there was some glitch, so I enhanced the school portal. So while we were testing, we bring in students, we were looking at them, they were testing. You were seeing students when anybody that is moving depends on the person's reactions and all. Somebody will go and meet the person. So what do you find? What are you finding difficult to do? They will explain. Oh, I wanted to do I wanted to go from A to B, but I'm not seeing the button. Will not show. Now you are not sure. If you show them, you have missed the whole experience because you want them to see it, right? So those are the kind of things. In-person testing, you will see reactions, you will see mood, just like the image here now. You can see an user is trying to do something and his eyes so sharp, popping out like that. You will know that that person is facing an issue in the testing. So you have to go and meet the person. So it's very important that you go through these processes. You must do in-person testing. So it's one way to conduct testing in design as well. So the second one is remote testing. Now, remote testing can be very tricky, but this involves using video conferencing tools to observe and record users as they interact with a design from their own environment. This method allows designers to test their design with users who are not physically present, which can be useful for testing designs with geographical dispersed user groups. So now the thing is, your user, especially if you are building a product, because we make this mistake a lot. Please pay attention, especially if you're in Nigeria, pay attention. When we are building products, especially product that will be used will not be used only in Nigeria, and you are giving only Nigerians to test that product, is one fault that we're already having. You know that this product is not going to be used by those in that geographic location that you are. And when you are doing your testing, you only give people to test that are around you. That's not empathy. We talked about empathy, and when you do those design and you do it like that, meaning you are taking out the empathy away. Now I'll give you one small illustration. Now, when the Westerners, when they want to build if they want to solve a problem in the developing countries, let's say, let me just use developing countries, right? They will have to send delegates to go to that country, right? Now, what's the essence of them going to that country is empathy, to also feel the pains of the people in those locations. Those are the reasons why they go there. So in one way or the other, we can also call that testing. Now, coming to a location to test the problem, to feel the pain points of your users is actually testing. You are coming there to have an empathy. So while testing a product too, you must have remote testing. Now, the remote testing are not in your physical location to also test that product, because they are also going to use that product. I believe that we are following this class, because it's very important that we do this. It's very vital that we take all of this process into consideration, because most of the products we push out, we just push them out without proper testing. Now, the other one is surveys. Now, surveys are useful tools for gathering feedbacks from users on their experience with a design. Surveys can be sent out to a large number of users, and the data collected can be analyzed to identify patterns and trends. I believe if you are just, even if you're a beginner designer, I believe you have gone through surveys, because anywhere you are learning, the survey user research you do is using survey, Google Forms, and all of that. So Google, you have used this, so it's important too to get data, those type of data for processing. But I prefer in person, and I prefer remote testing more, because survey is also, it can reach so many persons, but with using surveys you can miss out your target audience as well. You can get feedback from those people that are not in your target audience. That's why I don't like talking about surveys too much, but then it's part of the process, you understand. So A and B testing, A and B testing, A and B testing. This is one of the parts that most designers find it difficult to do. Why do we find it difficult to do? We find it difficult to do because it takes you to duplicate your design and change. When they say A and B, sometimes I've seen an A and B design that it's too different. Is not meant to be so the difference should not be too much when you do A and B testing, right? Okay, let me just go this. Say A and B, it is testing two versions of a design with different users groups to determine which design performs better. This method allows designers to make data-driven decisions about design changes and improve the overall effectiveness of the design. Now, this can be A and B can be you form, right? Then you put that you build, let's say a login form. I'm very sorry if I've known that I'm picking this, I would have definitely create an A and B form. Like I would have designed an A and B form so that we can choose by ourselves. I thought about it, but the time was going and I will have to rush it out. So I'm very sorry for not seeing that experience, but this is typical A and B form. A and B form is designing two things. Let's say a login form, right? One and form A, you put the button at the center after the two fields. Let's say the two fields can be, I believe we are designers. I'm just trying to open our head. Just imagine what I'm trying to say. I'm very sorry. So the two fields might be email and password, the text field. Then the button goes down below those fields, and the text. What's it called? Test A has the small button, the login button under it. Then the design for test B can have a bigger dome, like the same size with the text field. The button can take the same size of the text field with the login details on it, like that. So those two can be an A and B test. Now putting those two out into different group and asking them, which do you prefer? Like that kind of, I know that we see it a whole lot as designers on Instagram and all. You will see somebody will use design A or design B. You'll see some person choosing A, some person choosing B, giving reasons and all. Those two things you see is A and B testing. I'm just trying to open your mind so that you will know. You have seen an A and B testing, but most times we might not know is an A and B. Designers do it a lot. Maybe even them too. Maybe some of them I know. Maybe they are not putting it in the right terms. So those are A and B testing, where you will see maybe icon change. They use icon A, design A has a different icon, design B has a different icon. So those are A and B testing. When you give it to different groups, you'll find out that these groups might come up with the best possible solution for that design before you push it out, right? So those are the things that we do for A and B testing. Now we enter the three methods to maximize what you learn from test. The three methods to maximize what you learn from the test. Now, this is very important, right? This is very important for us. It's very important. So this is a grid. This is a grid that has 4 cards, right? Now, the first thing that the first thing we learn is we have to learn, or the first method is the feedback captured grid. The feedback capture grid. This allows you to organize feedback in a structured way. You can use it during the test to capture feedback from your participants systematically, or after the test to organize the feedback you've gathered, right? So Okay, so, okay. Sorry, I took time before coming in here. So somebody said I've seen a lot. Yeah. So those are the basic things, right? So sorry. Can you see my screen, please? Can you see my screen? Some persons, someone say no, someone say yes. Please, I need like two or three. Okay, okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, so this is a grid card, right? One at the left we have the like, at the right we have criticism, at the top bottom left we have questions, and the bottom right we have ideas. Now, when you do your feedbacks, right? When you take feedback from users, it can be interview, it can be survey, it can be in-person interview, it can be any kind of interview, right? So when you take feedbacks, especially when you're if it's in-person interview, let's say it's an interview, one of a face-to-face interview, you have this grid. This grid can be a sheet of paper. You just bring a plain paper, divide it into 4 grid. For each users, write their name on the grid. Write user, let's say the person's name is John Doe. You write John Doe, then you write that paper, divide it into grid, then write likes just the way it is here. When you write it like this out, then you when the person is talking about the design, giving illustration, make sure the person is detailed enough. Give room for the person to be very open to criticism, like give every room for the, because there's a way you act. Somebody might hold some questions and some things from you, but there's a way you act also to the person. The person will be so free to tell you everything. That's why sometimes you see somebody, when you want to talk, when he said, oh, tell me where I make mistake or something like that, and the person say, are you sure you want me to say it the way it is? Do you understand? Now they are trying to know if you are ready to accept what they want to say. Do you get? So those kind of things, now when you see the things they like, you write it out. The questions they ask, you write it out. The critics they give, you write those things out. Then you not generate ideas. Them in that their statement, they might be giving you ideas. That's why it's important to listen to others. So you write out the ideas. So user A, you have a test, things you've learned from that users. User B comes, user C, like that, like that, like that. When you go back, then you now do analysis of all the information you've gathered. Thank you. So let's go. Time is running out. Okay, so the second method is I like, I wish, and what if. This is for users, especially that are okay. Let me just read it through first, then I will explain. It helps you gather feedback in a structured way. This is useful when your participants don't have much experience with giving constructive critique. Quite simple. The I like, I wish, what if method invite the participant or your teammate, it can be a teammate, during a discussion section to provide open feedback by coming up with the 3 kinds of statements. Now, the 3 kinds of statement is this design is the user is facing the design, or it can be a prototype that the user is holding on his arm, or maybe on the desktop or something. And when you just go through, you have the I like, right? You now ask the user, the user, what do you like in this app? What do you think? Like, what do you like about the app? The person will start talking. You start writing it out. Like, start writing all the likes. Then you now say, what do you wish? Like, what do you wish to see on this app? The person will say, I wish this button was somewhere. Yeah, the hamburger was too. I wish the hamburger can be here, or I wish this text can be a little bit bold so that I can see. Right. So you see all of those processes. It might sound. Somebody say no. Somebody is not seeing my screen. That's 5 minutes ago. You're not seeing my screen, please. Sorry, let me change this. These are very important. Can you see my screen? Okay. You see the questions. It's very important, the kind of open-ended questions and the kind of questions he asks users, because it was confusing. So it's very important that we know these things. So, all right, thank you so much for the feedback. So, all right, so there is I wish statement, right? So when you get those I wish, trust me, I wish and what if are the best thing you want to hear. Leave, don't be too carried away with I like. Yes, we like praises, but don't be too carried away with I like. Also, pinpoint the I wish and the what if. The what if are, what if you don't even do this design? Like, some persons can be so blunt. Do you understand? What if this whole process is just, what if we didn't do it this way? So, but most times designers, we don't like to hear those things because we are so emotionally attached to our designs. But I've seen a whole lot of, even these ones are even students, not to talk about professionals. So professionals do it a lot, but now some persons, they don't want to take feedback when you tell them that. So sometimes we as tutors will now hold back the kind of the way we expect to tell them, give them the feedback that will make them do better, because we are looking at their emotional expression. You don't want to hurt the person's feeling and how the person will feel. If I say it this way now, this person might feel bad. But please, if you're a designer and you want to do better and you want feedbacks and tests, please be ready to hear the I wish. In fact, the I wish is okay. What if this whole color, you didn't even use it? You'll not be like, all the while I've been designing, like, I don't understand colors. Please accept it. It can be. Now, there is one thing I did, right? There's one thing I did. Okay, I use fonts to test people, right? It's simple fonts, but then one of my students wear glasses. She uses glasses, right? And the other ones, they don't. So what I would do is I'll do it a simple font, a normal font that has maybe 12 to 14 font size. Then I'll give it to the both to them. You will see she will always tell you that the fonts are small, and the other ones will be like, but the fonts are okay. Do you get? Now there is a mix up there. For it, that's why we need to test our designs with everybody. We need to test. There are sometimes the colors too. The colors can be sharp, it's okay, but this person might tell you that the color is not nice. You need to understand it from their own perspective. You don't tell them that it's okay, this other person says. No, you have to understand it because of what we are designing for: inclusion and accessibility. All right, thank you. So the third method to maximize what you learn from test is sharing inspiring stories. Now, here is how you can build on the power of stories to help you absorb and organize your test. One by one, you and your teammate, now you've gathered all the questions, right? The test process. Now, you are not the only one in the team. Sorry if you always work alone, but if you work alone, you will miss some things. So if you are working with a team, you're not the only one. Maybe different teammates has collected data from different people. So now when you come back, you use those experience. Oh, when I was testing from one user, this person said this person said, you are sharing the stories of what you've learned so far, right? So one by one, you and your teammates share a couple of interesting and inspiring stories you have observed while testing the prototype. Be as detailed as possible and take down notes and observations about the stories on sticky notes and stick it to the wall, stick them to the wall. So everybody, the experience you have, you take it down on a sticky note and you stick them to the wall. You can always go back to those stories, and it will always help you to improve your design. So you build, you gather feedback as possible, and also you make sure you keep iterating. It's very important. You build, you gather feedback and iterate. You build, it should be in your head. As far as you're a designer, you build, you gather feedback and iterate. You build, you gather feedback and iterate. We gather feedback because that's why we find ourselves in community. You cannot be a complete designer in isolation. You must find yourself in communities where you share your design, you get ideas from other people as well. Now we're almost done for this. Yeah, we're almost done. Okay, understanding the iterative design process. Understanding the iterative design process. Now, this design process, like I said earlier, is just the same way. Somebody, sorry, like I said, I will always be coming here to check this. So somebody said he's not seeing
my slides. I guess it should come from your network. Okay, yeah, that should be correct, because I get when I was down
there, like when other speakers were speaking, some persons always say they are not seeing, but me, I can see. So most times it can be from your own network as well. So please, we are sorry when we put out the slide and the videos. I believe you are going to see. We are also streaming on our Twitter channel right now, just in case. We're also streaming on our Twitter channel. But on the Twitter channel, you might not be seeing all of these chats. You might not be seeing all of these things. So that's the difference. So you have to be here so you feel that you are part of us. The other people are third party while you are part of us. All right. So understanding the iterative design process. The first thing is research. Now, this iterative design process is this almost the same. Sorry, you have to be learning some things. You're a designer. I'm a software engineer and a designer, so it's married so well. So I understand both the back end and the front end, right? So this also works well. Sometimes when I see some of the things that we did in software engineering, it's almost the same thing, because it's a life cycle. This is a life cycle, right? So it goes from the first stage to the last stage. It's just like when you want to build a house, right? You don't just jump in and start digging foundations. Of course, that house will collapse. Do you understand? So the same way, you don't just jump in and start the first thing you want to do is to open what's it called, Figma. You know, my strength is actually in US. My strength is actually in US. I can't it's not like I can't use Figma or I don't know how to do UI, but I don't like competing that thing at all. I just want to stay on my strength, because I can this for the UX. I can do it, like it's easy for me. It's easy, but for others, I've seen people that don't even like the US. They don't want the US process. They just want to design. So we are all different, right? So the same way, for them, they just feel like there should be an engineer, right? There should be somebody that should do the whole architectural work, do the whole building planning, do everything for them. They don't want to think to that part. That part is something that they want. They don't want it at all. Leave them to that's what they want. That's why we are humans. We all have our different where we function very well. It's just to find where you function very well and stay on your strength. Don't do what you cannot do. That's just the truth. Don't do what you cannot do, because others are doing it. So the truth is, you must, as a design process, there must be a research process, right? The research that even in big companies, like even in government parastatals, they have what they call research and development team, right? So those teams are the people that do all the research that the company use. Everything they do, the every research process that they need. Okay, I was talking to my students, which day is it, on Wednesday or something. I told them something that, do you know why the likes of Apple and Google, I always use them as a case study, because I always like looking at their site and their material designs. I said, do you know why their websites are very minimal? Because they are building for billions of people. They are not building for millions. Most of our products are for a specific users. To an extent, Google is not for a specific user. It's for everybody that can read and write, that have access to the internet. There are some products that are built that even if you have access to the internet, you don't use them. Am I correct? So they are also for Google, for Apple, and most of those companies, they are building for everybody. They are building for inclusion, for every gender, for every eye defect level, for anybody at all they are building for. So you will see their systems are always minimal. You will think that they are not creative. See, it's the most beautiful designs out there. Now I was talking to them, I told them something, that because these people are building for everybody, right? They have their research and development team that do research for, if they want to, they are building, because their audience are also in Africa. They also have a team that do research, Africans that will take these details from, that will do all the research process and understand how Africans also think, right? They will have also researchers that will also have to research on how the Asians think, on how the Europeans think. So different researchers, they must get this data. So when they gather all this data, when they put it into designing, you will now understand that they are not just building for Africans. They are building for the whole world, because their users are a lot. So it is very important. This is the first step in iterative design process, is to conduct research to understand the user's need, behavior, and preferences. The user's behavior, the way Africans behave is different from the way Asians behave. It's different from the way an average European behaves. So you must understand these behavioral patterns as well. This may involve conducting user surveys, interviews, and observations, as well as analyzing existing data and research. So it's very important, right? Now, after you've gathered this information, that's only when you are allowed to go into designing, right? So you don't assume that the way Africans think and do their stuff is the same way an average Asian person do the same thing. So you must know how African thinks and how they see things, and what kind of color they appreciate as well. So when you gather all of this information, you understand that that's why Google as well, because they do their due diligence in research. You will know that as a Nigerian user, sometimes your logo, their Google logo changes to African pattern, African cloth pattern. So you understand that that's why they have Google for Nigeria, and Google for every nation or continent like that, or for even it's cut across countries. So they find a way to define that experience to suit the people, right? So they have to understand those things before they start building those, before they start designing that Google Chrome that always show maybe a Nigerian flag when it is independence. So imagination, right? So put all of these things together while you are also designing, so that we will not just jump in and start designing like that. So it's the first thing so this step is to create a design based on the insight gained from the research, right? So this design may take the form of wireframes, prototypes, or mockups, and should be focused on meeting the user's needs and goal. The user's needs and goal, not user wants. Wants can be something that I can just do and move, but needs are things I need daily, right? So you must meet those needs and goals. That's why we do user persona, right? So our user persona and what's it called? Empathy mapping, right? All of these detailed structures is used to understand the user so that we can meet their needs. Now, when you build your user persona, you understand their motivations, you understand their goals, and you understand their frustrations, right? So when you understand all of these things and understand the bio of the individual you are building for, or you're doing that persona for, right? So you must know the detail of that person, the bio, the demography, the salary, and all of those information. So all of those informations as well guide you in your design process, right? So if you are designing, that's why all of that user persona, if you are designing for children, because of the user persona, you understand the kind of users you are designing for. Do you understand? So these are very vital keys that we should know before we jump into design. Now the test. Now you've designed. Follow me. This is an iterative design process. You've done the test. You've done the research. You've done the design, and now you are going into the testing. It's not, listen, this is not design process, it's iterative design process. The design process, mostly where we all see design thinking process, they are all 5, but this is an iterative design process. So that's why you see research, design, and test. So follow me so that you will not miss this. You will not have complications. Okay. So now test. Once a design has been created, it should be tested. We have talked about testing with users to identify any issues or areas of improvement. Do test, right, is to improve. That's why even in classrooms, in schools, we do continuous assessment. The continuous assessment is for improvement. It's very important and detailed that you when you are teaching students, you always have a mini project you give to them. Those are not final projects. They are not FYI. They are all tests. They are all continuous assessment. You use those projects to assess their level of understanding of what you've been teaching them, right? So that's why it's important that we do this in this test. So the test that we do or we give to students is for their own improvement. So, and that's why test has correction, but exams does not have correction. Do you know that? Like in every test for schools, after the test, you will see the teacher will come and do correction. But when it comes to exam, once you've written your exam, there's no correction in it. So these are important things that we ought to know. There are principles. There are principles. You know, one of the things that I understand in life is that principles are always the same in every field. You see, the way the life is, the principle, the way you do things, they just copy principle and what would I call, improve on it on a particular situation. So if we apply that principle of secondary school to this, you understand why we do testing, to improve our design. So testing may involve observing users as they interact with the design, conducting user surveys or interviews. We've talked about this, right? Or using analytic tools to gather data on user behavior. Now, the gathered data we are talking about is we can use Google Analytics. Now, in Google Analytics, while we are doing testing in Google Analytics, that's why most times it's good to use Google Analytics on your website or mobiles, right? Why we use all of those tools is you will see bounce rates. Now, what is bounce rate? Because those are test tools. So bounce rate on a site shows how long a user stay on a site before he leaves the site. So what keeps users? So if you use Google Analytics to test your website to a number of users, maybe you integrated Google Analytics on the website and you send out this website to users, and from the back end you'll be seeing how many seconds people spent on your website. So what keeps them, you will see bounce rate. If bounce rate is 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds, you understand that people don't stay on your website. You will not find way to start, because when there's a book, I can't remember, but there's a book, right? When I was reading, I think I saw people bounce. The reason why animation illustration comes into place is because of bounce rate of most of this our apps and websites. So if there's an interaction on the website, like illustrations, animations, it keeps people longer on a website, right? That's why you see when you go to all these product websites, they will all, if you go to Figma website, you will see it too. When they're okay, we are going far. The little big updates on Figma, most of the things are interactive, right? So you stay longer. Before you know it, you will stay on that website for more than an hour. Those are the reasons why we use test tools for testing mobile and website. So when you see those things, you will see the bounce rate, you will see other details that will guide you on what to do on that your website. If your website is static, of course, you will have a whole lot of bounce rate. So let's continue. All right. So the fourth thing here is analyze. All right. So after you've tested, you have to analyze. After testing, the results should be analyzed to identify issues or areas of improvement. Now you've tested your applications, right? You've tested this system and all of that. You've gathered all of these results. You have to analyze them to understand, to identify any issues or areas of improvement. This analysis should be used to refine the design and make any necessary changes. So you need to analyze. You don't just jump in because you have somebody said your UI is bad. They just jump in and start adding salt and pepper, or no, you just add. Let me come back to our call tools and terms. Sorry, you just jump in and start increase the font size, increase the opacity, change or reduce opacity, or change different things, add black and black 00. I don't know who uses 0000 for your color. That thing is blinding. No, please, 000 and FFFFF. Those things are blinding. Always take note. So because somebody said the fonts are not showing too much, you just go back, you just click, enter edit, and put 000060, and you leave it like that till it's so popping in somebody's eye. So you need to understand you need to identify the issues, right, before you know how to improve them. So analyze. So now the fifth one is you refine, right? So you refine based on the analysis of the test result. The design should be refined and improved. This may involve making changes to the design or conducting additional testing to ensure that the changes have been effective. So you refine the process. When you after you've gathered all, you change the things. After you have identified the issues, then you make your changes and make sure it is effective. Then the last is repeat. Now, repetition in design is very important. There's this I saw. I was reading one. I don't. If you're a designer, it's not always. You must read articles, right? You must read articles. You must find links. Just like you must have resources. So there's this design handover. See, there's design. There's a way to use up the say. We always talk about design handover, but there is no handover, right? But that statement was made because there's actually no handover of design, because you always come back to the design. So you're not handing it over. You are not resting. Do you get? If there's iteration, if there's repetition, then there's no total handover of design where you said, I've designed and I've given. Okay, there is a. I think when we want to do small test and prototype, there's working on a mobile app, investment app. I know how many the designer have designed this thing for like 3 months ago, but I know how many times I've called him to make changes. Right? So is that an handover? He has no handover, he's still working. If I still have any issue again, I will still call him again, he will make changes again. So this process of testing, analyzing, and refining should be repeated until the desired outcome is achieved. This may involve repeating the entire process multiple times or focusing on specific areas for improvement. Now, repetition includes feedback from users of your app. Maybe your app has been launched on Play Store, is on App Store. Then when you go to App Store, you see reviews, user reviews. Sometimes they'll say this UI is crappy. The users they are not merciful when they want to badge designers. They are not actually merciful. They will tell you the design is crappy. The buttons are not working. They will just say it the way it is. Like there is no need for making it, sugarcoating it or something. They just say it the way it is. So those are also feedback channel that we need to utilize as well. So we're almost rounding up, please. So best practices for incorporating feedback and iterating designs. Best practices. Analyze feedback. You must analyze your feedback. You don't just jump in because somebody say your UI is bad and you just jump in and with anger you just start removing all the layer, taking this layer for layer A. In fact, you will just get emotional and depressed. You will get emotional and depressed. So you must analyze your feedback. Before making any changes to the design, designers should analyze the feedback they receive to identify patterns and trends. This analysis can help designers understand the root causes of user issues and identify opportunities for improvement. Do you understand? Oh, sorry, I'm taking two instead of one. So the first thing is to prioritize feedback. That's the first. The first thing is to prioritize feedback. So not all feedback is created equal. Not all feedback you get that is created equal. Designers should prioritize feedback that is aligned with the design, with the project goals, address key issues. You must prioritize those that are in line with the project goals. Excuse me. Every project has a goal. Every product has an objective, right? We have the product. If you're a product manager, before you start a project, you take down the project goals and the objectives. Somehow we all get scope, right? So you must have those scopes put in place, because somebody said, let's say we are building an app, and the app right now that we are building, the person is telling you, what if this feature is inside? And you know that that feature, even if you update that app till the end of time, that feature might not come in because it's not in line with your this thing. Let's say for a fintech app, somebody told you, what if we put a delivery part inside a fintech app? What are we delivering? Is it what's it called? Is it the debit card that we want to deliver? So that kind of a feedback, you will not put it. It's not in line with the project goals. So it's very important. You see these things, you will just say it like that, but they are very important. So not every feedback are equal, right? Prioritize those that are in line with the project goals. So the other one is analyze feedback. I've just explained analyze feedback. Then the third one is collaborate with stakeholders. Now, it's very important to collaborate with stakeholders. Why? One of the things is you've gathered your feedback, right? Now, before jumping into designing those feedback, also collaborate with stakeholders to know whether this feedbacks and the things the improvements you want to add, or the features you want to add, is it in line with their budget? You must know whether it's in line with their budget as well. Incorporate feedback and iterating designs. Iterating designs often involves collaborating with stakeholders such as developers, product managers, and business owners. You must also tell the developers, you must also tell the product managers before you start designing. It's not just your work, right? It's a teamwork, especially for the business owners, because the feature you are trying to add that you got from your feedback, what if their budget cannot carry that feature? So you must get feedback, you must collaborate with stakeholders. So make incremental changes rather than making a whole change to the design based on feedback. Designers should make incremental changes and test them with users. This approach can help designers avoid making design decisions that may negatively impact the user experience, and ensure that the changes are effective. Sorry, I didn't use the actual what's it called? The actual font style I use for the font color I use for the others for this one. So it's not clear, right? So I'm so sorry. I'll try as much. I know this. I did this in a haste. So I'll try as much as I can to change that. I was not the one that's supposed to take this class, so pardon me. Thank you. So the other one is test iteratively. As with the overall iterative design process, designers should test their design changes with users to ensure they are effective and meet the user's need. All right, I will soon be entertaining questions. So the last one is document changes. You see this part, please. There are some things that are meant to be different colors or underlined when you are doing such things. I was not detailed with this whole presentation. If not, there are some things if I know that is very important, I would underline it, or I'll change the color. So document changes. It's key. Is key. Document changes is key. We might document the other processes in our design. When we are starting design, we always document our PRD documents, right? Product requirement documents. We always document the starting stage. But when we make changes, we hardly document our changes. I'm telling you from experience as a product manager. We always forget, because at that point, either you are under pressure, already out of timeline, or you've passed your deadline, or you're almost approaching your deadline. So you will not even remember some of the changes you made, because the deadlines always come during the test process. Maybe you have just 2 weeks to go, and it's now you are testing. During that test, you'll make changes that you get feedback that you make changes so fast that you will not document it. But it's very bad. Designers should document the changes they make to the design and the rationale behind them, the rationale behind them. This documentation can help ensure that all stakeholders are aware of the changes, understand why they were made, and can provide feedback on the future design iteration. So it's important that we document our design changes. All right, so now we entertain questions. So you have questions during the section. You can ask your questions. They will do a fast run through of a prototype or can test the prototype rather. So you have a question, just drop it on the chat. You have a question. All right. I hope everybody's hearing me so that I will not be. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, we can hear you. For that. Okay, so since there is no question, right? All right, so this will end our what's it called? Our theory part. So I will be doing a test, and I will see if you will notice anything on this prototype I want to test. So this prototype is a live product. When I mean a live product, it's going live soon. We're working on it. Manager, that's why I have the prototype. So there's no restriction on how to use it and actually bring it up on a live test like this. So it's actually going live soon. We're already on it, and let me see if there's a question. Okay, no question. So let me go. Okay, so I'll bring up that prototype. Let me end my screen sharing. Let me end the screen. So okay, you can also as well, you can feel free to find me online. All my handles, they are just the same. My full name is my handle. Once you can type my full name, you're done. And it's very important. Let me just, as a designer, as somebody that is moving in this industry, please don't use those funky names on your social activities. Always use your names, because a recruiter can just, once they want to find you on any app, they type your full name. If they don't see you, it's over. Like, they just move to the name. But they can easily find you, maybe your link, you send a broken link, and the person have patience to also check, maybe LinkedIn or something, and they type your name and you still did not show up. It's a problem. So you have to use your full name or your two names like that together on that. All right, thank you. Um let me share. Somebody say my voice is not clear. Is that correct? Please, is my voice clear or not? Please, clear. I need it clear from two other persons, please, so I'll be sure. Clear. Okay, so meaning I'm sorry, Nena, I'm blessed. I think it's your network that is maybe poor or something. These are online stuff, so you cannot be too sure. Okay, let me find this design and do a small prototype. I will not trust me, I will not take much of your time on this. I just want to make sure that you can identify issues. I will be leaving the screens, so I will see if you can identify any issue. Now you are my users to test these products. So where is it? Sorry. Okay. In case you have any question, you can just drop it. I'm trying to go back to my Figma file, and it's taking time to load. Why is it slow? Can you still hear me? Because my network is dragging right now. So I I hope I'm still audible because I'm trying to open my Figma file and it's really dragging. Like okay, then it's my I don't know.